Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to today's video. So this is going to be the final installment of the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edits Unlocked holiday palettes for 2025. And this is going to be for the Fox. This is the Fox one. This is the deepest one, but it's not as deep as the last 2 years. Like 2 years ago is when they first came out with the deep one. And this one is, it's definitely deeper and it's gonna be too deep for me. I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna try all 6 shades and I'm gonna put them on. But the finishing powder, I'll probably use the finishing powder as a bronzer and I'll use the bronzer as an eyeshadow. But I probably could, if I went really light-handed, I could probably use the bronzer as the bronzer. But in the other palettes in the previous, they were like way too dark. But anyway, I am excited to try this. So as I mentioned, I did post videos for deer as well as swan, and I just decided to go ahead and do an individual video for each one. That way, if you are only interested in one particular version, you can just watch the one or you can watch all 3. But here is Fox. So this is Fox, and like I said, this is going to be the deepest one. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now the Fox palette is the one that has the most new shades. It has 5 new shades, so the only existing shade is this middle blush here, and it is Lucid Glow. We'll go over it in a second. So this one also has the layout that I like, which has 1 finishing powder, 1 bronzer, 1 highlighter, and 3 blushes. The only thing I don't like about it is I don't like the way it's set up, because I like it when it's like the finishing powder, and then the finishing powder, highlighter, and bronzer are on the top, and then the blushes are at the bottom. That is how Swan is. It's not a big deal. It's not a huge deal because it's, you know, the shades are there, but I like it. You know, this is finishing powder, highlighter, bronzer, and then the 3 blushes. I like that setup better. It's just easier for me, but I mean, this is still great. So you have, so we'll go through the shades first. So here, right here is the highlighter called Solar Glow. It is new. The next one is the blush. It's the only existing shade, which is Lucid Glow, and this is in the Ghost palette. That is what it was from. It was from the Ghost palette. It's not something that I had. And then this is going to be the finishing powder. So the finishing powder is new and it is called Desert Light. And then we have another blush. This blush is Canyon Heat. Again, it is new. This blush is Amethyst Haze, also new. And then the last is the bronzer, which is Brawn Fusion, also new. So I will say the Amethyst Haze and the Mauve Fusion, you can see here, and you'll see some side-by-side comparisons later. You see those like mauve shades. They're not, this one is definitely deeper, but it's not that deep, and it's not that much of a difference. So if you have a deep skin tone or a tan skin tone, then this is the palette that's gonna work for you. I'm gonna use it as someone with a light medium skin tone, so just so that you can see it, but it's not the palette I would pick up, and it's not a palette I will keep. I will declutter it. So it's not something that I will keep going forward because it's just not something that I'm gonna get a lot of use out of. So it's too beautiful to not get use out of. But let me go ahead and show you the swatches in natural sunlight. So this is the swatches of all the shades in natural sunlight, just so you can see how they look, and you can see that highlighter is pretty deep. It's going to be way too deep for me as a highlighter. I will use it as an eyeshadow. And then that second shade is that blush, and you can see that is a light blush. That third shade is not a bronzer, it is a finishing powder. So I will use it as a bronzer, but it is a finishing powder. And then you have the 2 blushes and then the bronzer at the end. Now the next picture is going to be the swatches comparing all 3 palettes. So the first 2 are the ones from Deer. That palette only has 2 blushes, a peach and a pink. Then you have the 3 from Swan. It was a coral, sunset flush, and I forgot what it's called, Mauve Fusion. And you can see that one's pretty close to the Amethyst Haze. And then the last 3 are the 3 from this palette. So this one definitely has a good variety, but that lightest palette, that lightest blush is just very, very light. And then the next you'll see is the comparison of the highlighters and the bronzers. So you'll see you have Deer, Swan, and then Fox. Not a big difference between Swan and Fox. But I can wear Swan. I cannot wear Fox as a highlighter. And then you'll see the 3 bronzers again, Deer, Swan, and Fox. And Fox is definitely the deepest, but not as deep as the ones from years past. So hopefully that gives you a comparison. I'll also show you a swatch comparison later on from the Lotus palette from last year. But let's go ahead and get started and get this palette on my face. Okay, so just like I did with the other 2 palettes, I'm going to put the bronzer as an eyeshadow. So the bronzer is the one on the bottom. And you can see in the palette, they almost look like this is the finishing powder and this is the bronzer. So I keep confusing it when I look at the pictures. But this is going to be actually a beautiful eyeshadow. I always love the bronzers and the deeper palettes as an eyeshadow just because it's a little bit deeper. And I could probably use the finishing powder if I wanted just kind of a lighter base for eyeshadow, which would be beautiful. But again, the bronzer, this is just me as a way to use the palette for someone that has a light skin tone. But that is a beautiful color. And I probably, let's be honest, I could probably use this as a regular bronzer. Okay, next I'm going to use the highlighter as an eyeshadow as well. So I'm just going to put that all over the lid. And you'll see, now this one has beautiful sparkle. And yeah, it's gorgeous. But again, it's just too deep for me as a highlighter, but it is a beautiful gold shade. Okay, and then so you can see the eyeshadow on, and then we're gonna go in with this Lucid Glow. This is this blush kind of surprises me because it's it's the palest blush of all 3 palettes. So I'm kind of surprised. Now I have heard people talk about this blush and how much they love it, and I think it's absolutely stunning. So I'm excited to finally try it. I've never tried it before. I've heard about it before from other people, but it is a stunning, stunning blush. But considering that this is the palette for deeper skin tones, I'm curious, if you have a deeper skin tone, what do you think of this light blush? Like, how does it work on someone with a deeper skin tone? I'm actually really curious. So you can leave it in the comments below. Personally, I think it's stunning. I absolutely think it's stunning. Would love this. But you know, I'm curious for someone with a deeper skin tone. So I'm going to take this off, and so we can come back into the other 2 blushes. But yeah, I do think it's gorgeous though. Okay, so let's go ahead and try the other 2 blushes, and the other 2 blushes are going to be very different. So we're going to start with the Canyon Heat, and this is also a gorgeous blush. Really pretty. I hope that some of these blushes become part of the permanent collection because I think that they're really, really gorgeous. They just have some, this year what I've noticed is they have some really beautiful peach blushes. So I went pretty light-handed and I didn't put too much product on. Definitely it's pretty heavy because I wanted to show it up on camera. But if you do have a light medium skin tone and you want to try this palette, it's definitely something to easily wear. Now the other one I'm going to go in with is the Amethyst Haze, and this is the one that I'm going to try and go light-handed because this one is definitely, you can see it's quite a bit of product on there. It's pretty pigmented. So ooh, I'm going to have to blend this, and I didn't even put that much product on, so I'm gonna have to blend it out. So this one you have to be a little bit more careful with, but really a unique shade. So let me kind of just blend it out here, and I can always you know, if I wanted to keep it, if I were to keep it like that just happens. You just kind of take your wet sponge from when you put your foundation and cover it. So, you know, definitely a little too much on that side, but still a beautiful shade of blush. And then obviously this shade, I think the Sunset, I think it's, what is it? This is the Canyon Heat, absolutely stunning. And then finally, I am going to take the finishing powder and use it as a bronzer. So you can see right there, it works beautifully as a bronzer for someone with a lighter skin tone. So really, really pretty. It's actually a really pretty color for a bronzer as well. So you can kind of see here how I'll kind of compare the two shades. So this is the finishing powder and this is the bronzer from the palette. So both gorgeous shades, but actually really like the finishing powder as a bronzer. Okay, so I think the Fox palette is absolutely stunning for someone with a tan, maybe deep skin tone. A little confused this year as to why it's lighter. Again, I mentioned this in another video. I'm wondering if the last one that was a little bit more deeper, which if I remember correctly, it was deeper, if it didn't, you know, sell that great and they wanted to maybe make it for, you know, still deep, but not too deep. I don't know. You know, I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I feel like they are going to come under criticism because it's still not inclusive for people with really deep, as the lipstick lesbians say, the melanated queens. I think that's, it's really not inclusive for that. So I'm curious, but if you are interested in this palette, I do think the shades are gorgeous. And I'd also be curious if you are, you know, deeper skin tone, how does that shade work for you? Let me know in the comments below. But I do think it's gorgeous. I also wanted to do I have pictures of swatches from the Lotus palette last year. So here's just a comparison of the two swatches. The Fox palette is the one on top and the Lotus flower is going to be the one on the bottom, just so that you can see a comparison. So if you have that palette, unfortunately, I don't have the one, I think it was the Tiger palette from the year before. I don't have a swatch. I don't have those pictures of swatches from before. But anyway, I also did want to mention that if you don't want to spend $94 and the finishing powders and having two blushes is not a big concern for you, the Sephora has these palettes. There are 3 of them. This is the light to medium. So this is the light to medium. They do have like a middle one, and they have 3 shades. So they do have a deep one, and it has a highlighter, or bronzer, and then 2 blushes. Is it the same quality as Hourglass? No, it's not. It's not going to be, but it's still a really good quality. I think it's a really good quality, pretty hefty. So that's nice. Obviously not, you're going to have this luxury palette, whatever, but this is $94 and this is $24. And then if this is still available, which I think they usually will be, if it's still available when the Sephora sale goes on sale, which is October 31st, it'll be 30% off. So that's going to be, you know, I'm trying to think, doing math in my head really quick, 17. It'll bring it down to like roughly $17. So I think this is great. I haven't traveled with it because I'm afraid that they might break, just because I'm not used to traveling with something like this, but I use it all the time for during the day, and it's a great little palette. I haven't had it too long. It didn't come out too long ago. So, but otherwise, if you're interested in Fox, I think it's gorgeous. I think it's beautiful. I think all 3. I like that the 3 blushes are very different. And nothing really, no complaints for me. So anyway, if you're interested in the other 2 videos, I have them and they'll be in the link below. As always, if you are going to be purchasing this and use my affiliate link, thank you. It really helps me so that I can purchase these types of products and I can put out these videos so that it, you know, I'm not going broke putting out these videos and trying to have a channel. And with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.